What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We got some updates. The new SBS has dropped. SBS 111 is out, so we're going to talk about that a little bit. But we also got some One Piece news because One Piece is still making waves. If you didn't catch it, they had a One Piece Lakers collab. So during the Lakers, I think, versus the Clippers game, it was like a One Piece sponsor. So like it was entirely One Piece themed. They had like a special PV. They had like all this special merch and stuff. They had it on the Jumbotron. They had a One Piece like little animation. Such a cool thing. And it's so cool to see One Piece kind of just spreading its wings. This goes back to what Oda was talking about when he was talking about live action, where he wants One Piece to have multiple different mediums. So he's like, yeah, One Piece is an incredibly popular manga. One Piece is an incredibly popular anime. But I want to go farther than that. I want One Piece to be, a popular live action. I want it to be popular in the West as much as it is in the East. He wants One Piece to be digestible for everyone everywhere. And so seeing something like this where you have like the NBA collabing with One Piece, which is something that I don't think has ever happened before. Like, I don't know if NBA really does themes like this, but as far as like an anime goes, that's kind of crazy. And I'm always happy to see things like this because it just means that One Piece is getting the traction, the recognition it deserves as far as like what it used to get, how we used to see One Piece in like 2004, where like it was basically passed up on. Like if you weren't watching Naruto, then you really didn't care about anime. But now One Piece is just a global phenomenon. And we've seen countless times that different athletes, different people like in media, you got Meg, you got Bruno, Usher, they're all like more into anime and manga now. So it's becoming such a huge thing. And I love to see that One Piece is one of the things that's kind of like hidden that move. Absolutely hope to see more collabs like this in the future for One Piece, whether it be with like NBA or whether it be with different like giant media. I want to see it. But let's talk about the SBS a little bit because there's a lot of cool stuff in here. There's one thing that I'm really excited about. We'll get to that in a little bit. And then all these Q&As were brought to me by Annie King on Twitter. I'll include the link in the description below. Please check that out. Especially considering I'm not going to be covering every single Q&A, just the ones I figured were somewhat important. Because how SBSs are. Sometimes people will be like, hey, Oda, what color is your underwear? And you'll be like, blue. And that's the SBS question. I'm not doing that. If you want to see that kind of stuff, you can go over to Annie King on Twitter and he'll have the entire rundown there. But first up, we have the I want to know Arlong's reaction when he found out that Jinbei joined the StrawHats. And he draws Arlong making the disgusted face that he drew like Whitebeard and Odin having when they were talking about going back to Wano. And it's absolutely hilarious. I didn't know I wanted this, but I'm so happy this happened. I really hope for any random reason this gets animated. That disgusting face is hilarious to me every single time. Next up, we have Shaka said that when Zoan Delver users awaken their abilities, it often leads to their nature being completely taken over. So the Jither Beasts and Impelled Down are also originally humans who got taken over by their fruits. And Oda says yes, and he also says like, Lucci, you're at risk, which is interesting. But this is something we kind of suspected because we had Crocodile talking about it. And over the course of time, we get to know more about awakenings, more about Zoan Delver fruits, and we're kind of like, okay, so the Impelled Down guards were, they're essentially forcefully awakened Zoan users to where the Zoan ability had completely taken over their body and they couldn't change back. They didn't have any like really clear awareness. They were just victims to the fruit at that point. That is interesting because it makes me think about how people can have a Zoan Devil fruit and maybe it awakens by accident. Maybe it is forcefully awakened and you're just stuck like that. Now, based on what Kaido was saying, that awakening really only happens when your Devil fruit and like your mind and body all catch up. So I'm wondering if there's other conditions that kind of trigger that kind of stuff. We know that, well, I don't know if we would call Monster Point awakening, but we know that these Zoan fruit abilities can be manipulated to some degree. So I would like to see more on that. Next up, kind of a goofy one. There was this combination of the Straw Hats that Oda made back in SBS Volume 33, and he drew basically a more modern version with all the new inclusions and everything. In fact, I think back then it went up to Robin. The new one has like Frankie, it's got Brooke, it's even got Nika in there, it's got Jinbei. It looks horrifying. I hate it. But I thought it was interesting to see that, the progression of this really old SBS volume, and it's a callback. So now we can talk about the one that I personally am super interested in, which is about Hanafuda. The question goes basically, in the volume 109 SBS, it's revealed that Hanafuda exists. Is he the father of Ulti in page 1? And Oda says, you're talking about that guy, the former warlord of the sea who got taken down by Ace. I thought I hit it really well, whatever. Yes, he is. So immediately, Hanafuda is basically the dad of Ulti and page 1. And then he goes on to say, but you really mean to ask the relationship between Hanafuda and Kaido, right? As pirates, they have clashed in the past, but ultimately formed an alliance due to their common goal. He has such faith in Kaido that he would entrust his own children to him. His hobby of collecting zone fruits is to help strengthen beast pirates as well. Hanafuda is one of the many who was captivated by Kaido's strength and gave all their help to help him ascend to the throne of Pirate King. After being defeated by Ace and banished from the warlords, he was killed by pirates whom he had a grudge against while on his way to his children. So basically, Hanafuda was kind of, and we talked about this before when we first mentioned Hanafuda, that he was very similar to Kaido in that he was like collecting devil fruits. He had a very animal-based theme, and this kind of comes into play here where he clashed with Kaido at some point, and what I'm imagining is something very similar to King, where King saw like how strong and how formidable Kaido was, just what Kaido was about, and he was like, yeah, I want that man to lead. It has very similar like essence as how Ace kind of runs into Whitebeard, where it's like Ace couldn't defeat Whitebeard, but in fighting Whitebeard, he was like, okay, I see what everyone sees in this man, and I want him to be a Pirate King. Like that's kind of the vibe I'm getting here. But also the fact that he entrusted his kids to Kaido, which is kind of crazy because it's not like he necessarily died first. It's kind of just like he let Kaido have his kids and then he continued to be a pirate. I would want more reasoning on that. Like maybe he suspected that he might get hunted down and he knew that under Kaido, his kids would be safer than with him. Because it mentions that he was on his way to see his kids when he got killed. So it doesn't seem like he just like gave them up and didn't care about them. It seems like he was going to visit them. But ultimately he got killed before he could see them again. So really cool lore. Because I was also talking about in the cover stories, again, if you don't check out the chapter reactions, reviews, things like that on the Blur Out podcast, be sure to go like, comment, subscribe. That is where I talk about all the chapters and such. I do both things on the main channel and things on the podcast channel. Probably seeing more things on the podcast channel right now because that's where most of the discussions and things go. But we're going to try and amp up the main channel as well with different content. I got some more stuff planned coming in the works. But yeah, I was talking about how basically Kaido had adopted Ulti in page 1. And essentially Yamato is the child of Kaido as well. So if they work together, it's kind of like a family thing. But yeah, I like this one. I like this one a lot. Of course, it's got Ulti in it, so I love that kind of lore. But I think just in general, it's cool to see things happening in the world outside of Straw Hats. Like that's some of the stuff we love to see. So just like different pieces of world building in the SPS, always nice. Next up, they say, hello, my little Oda, which is weird. I want to know how Kid managed to steal Big Mom's poneglyph. And this answer actually surprised me because basically what happened is Kid went up on Big Mom's warships. So she attacked basically one of her fleets and he defeated Snack. So Snack got defeated by 2 supernovas. And I don't remember if we explicitly get that information. I know we saw that Eroge did it. I don't remember if we saw that Kid specifically defeated Snack. We did know that Kid basically just wanted to go in, get the poneglyph and get out, and that he attacked one of the ships to do so. And that because what Brule was saying was that he never saw Big Mom, and his goal was that I want the poneglyph. I don't want to see Big Mom. I don't want to fight Big Mom. And so we're getting more information about how he did it, which is that he beat Snack, and in order to spare Snack gave him the poneglyph rubbing. That's a little crazy considering that it's kind of the same thing that happens to Kid with Shanks, where they go up to fight Shanks, they get wiped, and in honor of being spared, they kind of offer up their poneglyph. It doesn't work, but that's kind of what they were going for. So it seems like some dramatic irony here, but interesting nonetheless. Next up, we get what would Luffy's satellites look like if he had the same Punk satellites as Vegapunk, and it's just 5 Yorks and an Atlas. So basically it's York with her gluttony and like greed, and then it's Atlas with wrath. So he's just hungry and mad. That's Luffy. Those are his satellites. And I mean, it makes sense. That sounds about right. Up next, an interesting one, because they ask what happens to the man-made dolphins when the users die, so it smiles, and Oda says they just disappear. So essentially what happens is once that smile user dies, that power is gone until they remake it. And I had this question in the back of my mind some time ago. I didn't really think about it all too hard, but it's cool to see it answered now. Next up, another interesting lore bit. In chapter 987 was the bridge that the Roger pirates passed by with Odin, Tequila Wolf or Bourbon Wolf? And then what is the name of the planet that Luffy and the others are adventuring in? So big information. Now apparently the planet is called Blue Planet, which is very vague, and I think Oda is avoiding using some terminology here, because he kind of does that. What are you talking about? Oh, you're asking about that, huh? It's called Blue Planet. So I think he's kind of avoiding things on that. And then with the bridge, it's not Tequila Wolf. And Oda goes out of his way to say it's not. He's not going to say it's Bourbon Wolf, but for sure it's not Tequila Wolf. And we know that there are 4 different bridges. So we got Tequila Wolf, Bourbon Wolf, Vodka Wolf, and Rum Wolf. So it's not Tequila Wolf. It's possibly one of the other 3. Could be bourbon, could be vodka, could be rum. But Oda is specifically not saying which one it is. And considering how recently we just got some lore on the wolves, it makes sense that he's not going to divulge that information. So I think this one was a lot of lore hints that Oda was like, all right, let me dance around this a little bit. And those are all the ones I really wanted to cover. Like I said, there are a few extra ones. They're kind of just goofy to me, so I didn't include them. Again, if you want to check those out, go over to Anakin on Twitter. I'll include the link in the description below. That's going to do it for this video. As always, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, if you haven't already, go check out the Blurted Out podcast. That will be in the description below. That'll also be in the cards here and in the end screen. So be sure to check that out. That's where I'll do all the One Piece chapter reactions, reviews, where I talk about seasonal animes, where I talk about different kinds of stuff. Be sure to check that out and subscribe over there as well. I appreciate y'all, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.